Today is a very exciting day. Today is the start of the Hearthstone World Championship, where one of these 8 fine ladies and gentlemen will go victorious away as our new world champion. In this video, I'm gonna go over first what decks these players have brought to Worlds, a little bit of their history, and then go into depth in each and every one of these players' deck list and discuss their strategy and their card choices and who I think is the favorite to take home Worlds this time around. Either way, I hope you enjoy it. It's a long one, but I hope you guys find this a little bit interesting, and I can't wait to follow Worlds. I'll give a link to the stream where you can watch it in the description, so make sure to check it out over the weekend. I'll for sure be there cheering for my favorite to win. Alright, so these are the decks that people in the World Championship are bringing, their archetypes. I'll go over their separate deck list more later. We'll see that out of the classes brought, 7 out of 8 are bringing both Warrior and Demon Hunter. Honestly, to me, a little bit surprising. I thought there would be for sure 8 out of 8. Demon Hunter and Warrior, considering their dominance, but I bet that the reasoning that the 2 people that decided to exclude them, which is Bloodyface with no Warrior and Bankyuga with no Demon Hunter, probably expected those decks to be targeted and successfully targeted by their opponents, so that's why they decided to leave them out. I don't think by any means that these people think that these decks are bad, but they can correct me if I'm wrong. On the second most broad class, which is, I guess, or the 2 second most broad classes, I guess is a little bit more interest, is Hunter and Shaman. Hunter has been posting pretty good win rates across the fields on pretty much all ranks, but the interesting part to me is that Highlander Hunter seems to, from what I've been noticing, is that Highlander Hunter drops off quite a bit in win rate at higher legend, but still we see 5 out of 8 people bring it. Honestly, Highlander Hunter is not a deck I'm very keen of myself, so I'm interested to see how that works out for the people bringing it. It's like, you can never really go too wrong with Highlander Hunter, but I think that I wouldn't want to put my trust in a deck as like curve dependent as Highlander Hunter for the World Championship, unless I thought that the deck was remarkably strong. We also see people bring Evolve Shaman. We've seen like Jambre being like top 1 legend with it for a long time now. Probably makes sense. It's a good deck. Like, if you gotta bring 4, then you'd need good reasons to not have Shaman in your lineup if you have something better. Then we see some of the classes that I think are more represented on ladder not being brought is as many as we expected with both Rogue and Paladin. Only 3 people each, which I guess is like still almost half of the field. But we even see Shao Ti with the Highlander Rogue, which we'll talk more about it later. And then 2 people with a more traditional Secret Rogue. There's this new rogue with Price Plunderer that has been popping up lately, but I think that was like sort of catch on right as the exclamation were. So they probably not too many people want to jump on that train like without proper testing. Libra and Paladin, that I personally think is almost criminal to not bring. I think Libra and Paladin is very, very good right now, being brought by 3 people. Bloodyface, Jarla, and Glory. And then we only see 2 priests, 1 control and 1 Highlander. Granted, priests haven't been putting up too impressive win rates, but also Nasami Bloodweaver was recently changed, and we see after that change that deck has started producing quite a bit results if you're playing good lists. Well, Jarla was the only one that brought the control pleased, whereas Bank Yuga does have a little bit older, I would say, Highlander priest. But first, I'm a bigger fan of control. But since I was part of Jarla's testing group, I might be a bit biased here. Overall, looking at this, I also didn't talk about the distribution of the warriors and demon hunters. We actually see, which is pretty surprising, 4 bomb warriors, which is probably, if you play a top legend ladder, I think it's the archetype I'm facing the least out of these 4 archetypes. Maybe Enrage Warrior being the least popular. Monsanto being the only one on Enrage Warrior, Jarla the only one on ETC, and then we even have Glory with the Sealess Warrior. And whereas Shao Ti, Yugi, Sylvaname, and Swift all going for Bomb Warrior. I guess Bomb Warrior is like kind of the safer choice. It's pretty straightforward to play. You can focus on practicing the other decks more, and it's still Warrior. Like, you're still running Risk Skipper, Armor Smith in all of your decks, so they kind of do similar things, even though they have different win conditions. But it's cool to see. I'm personally a pretty big fan of ETC Warrior. I think it's worth putting your time into, and I think it's a very good deck. But it has been falling off a little bit lately in win rate as people are getting more accustomed to playing against it. As for Demon Hunter, we see 3 Soul Demon Hunter, 3 Aggro Demon Hunter, and 1 OTK Demon Hunter. I think that both of these are fine. Like, all 3 of these are fine choices. Now, I haven't played the deck much myself, but it was very apparent, I think, over the later days that the refined list of OTK Demon Hunter are actually very, very good. And I actually do believe that this, in my opinion, this is what I believe is Jarla's biggest edge across the rest of the field, especially considering how 3 other opponents brought Aggro Demon Hunter, which is like OTK Demon Hunter is best matchup, probably. As for going with Soul or Aggro DH, probably more of like a lineup preference and like what you expect the field to be and what your ban is. I think both are very expected, very fine decks to bring. But personally, I think that actually, like, jumping on the OTK Demon Hunter train as the list got more refined, I think Frozen was a big pioneer in refining the OTK Demon Hunter list, was a very good choice, and I do believe this gives Jarla a big edge against the rest of the field. First. So, and then we can go over them in the order of matches. So here are the matches. We have Glory versus Jarla, the first initial match, and then Bloodyface versus Shao Ti. This is to me, like, you're in Worlds, so each group is going to be very strong. But if any of these 4 players ended up being the watch, I'm not saying that the other ones aren't deserving or anything. Don't spin my words into things they aren't. But like, any of these 4 players being the winner of Worlds, like, I wouldn't be surprised, and I think we'd have like a very good World Champion. Yeah, only two of these 4, like, I think pretty heavy favorites are gonna advance. So you definitely want to be there from like the first match, because it's gonna be popping. Then after that, I think they're playing out the entirety of Group A today. And wait, are we playing out both groups today? Holy moly. No, this elimination decider match are on... Oh, one elimination match today? Okay. And then in the second group, we have Sif versus Yugi, thank Yugi, and Sylvaname versus Monsanto. This is also a like very respectable group. And Sif, I think a lot of people are gonna sleep on. Like, I don't think Sif is getting the attention. He like people don't know too much about him considering he's from China and we're a bit like closed off from the Chinese scene. But we know about Xiao Ti. Like as far as I know, everybody knows exactly how insane Xiao Ti is the game as the other Chinese representative. But I don't think people have a clue like that Sif is like very, very, very good. I had the opportunity to face him a few times, and I've seen him play, and I can say that this player is like top caliber up with the rest of them. Monsanto also like a person that people that I think is very good, especially this year. I think Monsanto is one of the people I think has improved a lot over this year. Like if I always thought Monsanto was good, but I think that this year he's been extra on point in terms of just like I think he has very solid play overall this year whenever I've seen him play. And he's been vocal about it, and he feels good at the game, and been throwing shade at other players and regions, and all they have it. Plus, if you haven't checked out Monsanto's YouTube, you should check out the Monsanto's news. They're actually hilarious if you follow the Hearthstone scene. Either way, I like that. He's playing a bit of the role of a villain, and I mean he's backing it up with results. Then like Silvername and Bankyugi are a bit of the question marks for me. Silvername mostly focuses on BGs, doesn't play a ton of constructed. That being said, like we've seen him when Silvername's plays on intuition are extremely on point for playing the amount that he does. That being said, I still think that people, and I don't know, maybe Silvername did put in a ton of time into preparing for Worlds. I don't know. I don't have much contact with him. If it did, it could be a very, very scary threat. And Bankyugi, I honestly don't. What I've seen from him has been impressive, but I haven't seen enough so that I can form like a super strong opinion on like where I'd place him. He's a bit of the wild card for me. But I'm excited to see this group play out too. I didn't talk too much about these players, but like Gloria has been dominating APAC. Jarla is probably the best. Okay, I'm just gonna go out and say it. Jarla is probably the best player in the world at the moment. I know there are other contenders here, and I know that I also have a bit of a biased view, but this is not anything new. Jarla has been silently, because Jarla doesn't make much noise for himself. He's been silently dominating the Hearthstone scene for years. And yeah, I do think that Luna or Bloodyface, that she also is like, if there was like anyone I debate like, oh, maybe it's between these two, then it would be Jarla or Bloodyface. No. Yeah, Jarla is just super consistent, and yeah, so is Bloodyface. And dude, like all the players in Worlds are good, very good. But I do, if I would have to place one single best player, I'd probably pick Jarla. It's a close race, like as I said. I think Bloodyface, I think Eddie. I think there are some like Surrender. Like there are a lot of players up there, but if I would have to pick one, I'd pick Jarla. What's up, Michael? There we go. I'm gonna start over again. Glory is the only person we see bringing the Soulbond Ashtongue plus Silas warrior. It's a pretty interesting choice considering now I haven't played the deck enough, so I'm not entirely sure what. I guess you have a little bit better aggro matchup if you're running this, because you can use the pieces that are supposed to use for combo purposes in the ETC warrior, or like more defensive, like for a more defensive playstyle in this. So I'm interested to see how it works out, but I think that out of the warriors, I probably like this one the least, even less than the Enrage warrior that Monsanto brought. And again, its warrior is probably gonna end up getting banned a fair amount of the time. As for his build, I think it looks solid. Not much to say about this. I think that the 30 parts of this are pretty core. I don't think there's like any noticeable exclusions or inclusions. Going about his Soul Demon Hunter, this is, I think, like one card off what I've been playing myself and what's been the recommended list in VS reports, etc. We see a Wandmaker being run over. Il'gynoth is there. Can't quite place my finger on what's excluded here. Malicious in. Oh yeah, there's no Kayn. Oh, there's no Kayn. I think that's alright. I think that Kayn doesn't have, if you're not expecting a lot of paladins or a lot of druids, I think that excluding Kayn is completely fine. Kayn doesn't really excel in like the popular matchups. He's not very good in the mirror. He's not great against warrior. Like not super necessary versus rogue. Against paladin is good, druid is good, but against shaman doesn't really do too much either. So I definitely think that that's a fine exclusion to make. I don't like Wandmaker too much either, but then we see the rogue. I'm definitely on the train that playing one Pharaoh Cat is illegal after playing the deck. I know that VS reports is the same thing, but like I was feeling the exact same thing. I definitely think that you want 2 Meow Meows. You always have a Meow on one. He adopted to the double ambush, double dirt tricks, which I think is good. It's pretty much card for card what Mac Pantherface played to rank 1 legend a while ago, which I think is a very good list. The only change I would like to make is that I think that 2 questings is quite redundant, and I think that they aren't like even that great of a card in the meta currently. With like the matchups are being the best against Druid, which I wouldn't expect in any numbers, and we even see 0 in this field. So I don't think too high level Rogue as a deck currently. I don't think it has very good matchups against the field. So if I would have to, I like Glorious lineup quite a bit, but I think the weak spot would be the Rogue, in my opinion, especially what we see being brought of the rest of the field. I'm looking at Paladin. I think that he's one of the 3 players bringing Paladin, one of my favorite decks at the moment. I think it's a very good choice. He's running a bit of a different list than I myself have been running. I'm a fan of the Ardent Braggarts, and we're gonna see that later in Jarla's lineup. But they haven't really been universally adopted. Instead, that makes room for Red Scale Dragon Tamer and Amber Watcher, that honestly I'm usually not too huge of a fan of. They're supposed to be like at its best against Soul Demon Hunter, but I feel like that matchup is already very good, and I feel like these cards can often get clunky in your hand. We'll look at Jarla's list later, and I'll tell you more about what I like about that Paladin instead of what I don't like about this. I think Paladin is still a good choice though, and like a very strong deck you want in your lineup. So I'd rather have a build of Paladin that maybe doesn't look as strong, and that's just my opinion, rather than not having a Paladin at all. Overall, I think I like Glorious lineup. I think I think his decks are well built, with a few card choices here and there I'd change. Question marks around if the warrior was the optimal choice. And if probably gonna give him a little bit of an edge against aggro DH, I suppose, and a little bit of a question mark around how powerful the rogue is gonna be. But overall, it's probably one of the lineups I like. I mean, I haven't dived deep into the other ones, but I like stuff that it doesn't have Highlander Hunter, etc. His opponent for the first match is here now. Get up. Here it's time for the lineup, with some slight bias here, of course. Full disclosure, I was part of Jarla's testing group. So I'm gonna like a lot of stuff going on here. But I really do think this was, like, I'd be honest with you, when I'm part of testing and like, I'm not sure if we like found it, like everyone can just sell for something. Like this time I feel that like this was good. We'll start from how to order, so you guys get the paladin last. I want to say that these sticky fingers every here and there are not orange approved. Those are Jarla, but the rest of the 117 cards are approved. First of priest, we see Gabi piloted this priest list to I don't think I had a sticky finger to rank 1 legend, a little bit before deck submission. We were working quite hard to find a good priest list, and had something quite similar to this. And at the end of the day, I think that this one really felt like it. There is a good priest list there, and I think that this is for sure like what I'd play too. Now with the Nasami Bloodweaver getting fixed, this deck got a lot stronger, but time was short, and there were a lot of different priest lists getting out there, so it was very hard for the players to like settle on like being confident in that, this is the one. And maybe we're missing the mark, but this one did feel this one I think is very like I would bet on this one too and probably bring it myself. I think that this is very similar to the old list that was the top tier in last meta with some upgrades, and it has good matchups across the fields. I like it a lot. I think he added Sticky Finger instead of Insight, which Sticky Finger, but hey. But then to the deck that I think gives Jarla the highest edge in the field, which is the OTK Demon Hunter. With having absurd win rates against aggro Demon Hunter that we see quite a lot of people bring, and just overall good matchups across the rest of the field, I think this is it's a unique deck choice for Jarla, and I think it's very, very good. The problem with OTK Demon Hunter was not necessarily its matchup spread, it was mostly that the builds, like the deck just lost to itself a lot in previous iterations of the build. Like for anyone out there that has played the deck before, they might have felt like, my deck is just losing me games, and it's not really because the deck isn't working. Then Frozen came in clutch and played like over 1,000 games of OTK Demon Hunter because Frozen is a madman, and he refined the list to be so much smoother. With the big addition that wasn't here before is Lorekeeper Polkelt, making sure that you whenever you play it, that you Skullwuggle down into Il'gynoth for 1 mana, and then your combo potential gets like out of hand and insanely huge, and you do it very consistently because all you need to draw is like Polkelt. On top of that, there's the addition of Ooze, and basically cutting down on a bit more of the clunky combo pieces and the card draw. So you end up with a way more streamlined list that plays a lot smoother than before. People that have played this list seem to all think, if you guys have watched Fino's stream lately, that this is it. This was what the deck needed, and this deck is busted. It was also just like a late discovery, so I bet that not a lot of people tested it, but I think this is the one thing to me that makes me think Jarla has the biggest edge. But then we can talk about, I not want to be like, it's not all positive. I think that even though I certainly approve, and like at the time of deck submission, I was also just like, yeah, for sure, bring ETC Warrior. If there's one thing about Jarla's lineup I'm concerned about, it's the ETC Warrior. We've seen the win rate drop off a little bit lately. Now after people are more prepared against it. Granted, I think it's a very good deck still, and I think that this list is solid minus the sticky finger. But I think that this is where the techs might hurt a bit. So we see the sticky finger is probably good because there's 4 bomb warriors in the field, and sticky fingering a bomb warrior is of course insane. But like, Seala's Dark Moon in this warrior can be pretty punishing, and we really don't see a lot of Rattlegores or other decks where Seala's is very good. So wonder how much of a handicap that is gonna be for Jarla. Other than that, he's doing the list with cutting down on removal and playing more card draw. That I think is good. But we'll see if these tech choices hurt him at all. But I still think that it's the only one bringing ETC Warrior, which is surprising. I thought more people would bring it. And then for the Paladin, no Bulwark. Yeah, you just you cut the Bulwark for Sticky Finger. The Bulwark is like really good against Soul DH, but not very good against Aggro DH. And you also probably expect like your Soul DH opponent to be prepared for Bulwark in one way or another. And then for the Paladin list that people have the most questions about. For those that have been watching the stream, this is pretty similar to what I've been playing on stream myself. Originally, I got the deck idea from Casper with the Braggarts, and I changed around some cards. A card that you haven't seen me run on stream is Blessing of Wisdom, that raises a lot of questions when people look at the deck list. And you're like, well, what happened here with the Paladin list? But I'm here to defend Blessing of Wisdom. I haven't played Blessing of Wisdom on stream myself, mainly because I didn't want to reveal that technology to the public. I've seen it in testing and seen it perform, and there's some things in this list that make Blessing of Wisdom good. Mainly, it's that when you play the Braggarts. First off, I should start with, you guys seen me play Braggart, but we don't see Braggart in any other list. I am convinced that this is like one of the best Paladin cards, and so are the rest of us. And I honestly can't tell you why this card just isn't more widely played. It's so insane. It's also just like the Rogue matchup, for example, just like swings it on its head that all of a sudden like Braggart's Broom is like an answer to Questing Adventurers and Edwin, which makes it that it can never like get a game-winning board against you. I don't know. This card is just so good. And when you have that extra additional 1 health minion to draw from Salad's Pride, you really don't want to dilute your deck with more Loot Warders and the Novice Engineers, because you have enough 1 toughness guys with wanting to draw Broomstick very often from Pride, drawing into the second Pride, etc. So your Pride gets super consistent. On top of that, Blessing of Wisdom just works with Devout Pupil and Liadrin, for that matter. And it's kind of like, you'd think it'd be like you need a minion to attack, but you can also just place it on your opponent's minions. In a lot of matchups, it makes like a lot of matchups right now, decks are very dependable on removal instead of interacting through board, like say Warriors, say Soul Demon Hunter, etc. or Priest. So when you put a Blessing of Wisdom on a minion, that pretty much just makes any minor threat into like something they need to spend removal on, which can make things really awkward. And like the opportunity cost isn't a lot, it's 1 mana. And also like if you don't even have a board, you can put it on Broomstick and stuff. And you just like added bonus in introducing Pupil. It's good. And I think that this Paladin list is really, really nice. If I were to play it myself, well, the Sticky Finger would go and I would have a Hammer of the Naru. But yeah, this is the one. This is the list. Blessing of Wisdom truly. And oh yeah, I've been getting comments on Silas. This is, well, I mean, I don't blame anyone. People thought that Silas was like mostly a thing for Ralligor, and so did I. That's what I thought you played the card. But honestly, whereas it's, well, there for Ralligor too, like that's nice when you get to do it, but that doesn't really come up too often, especially on an open decklist format. But it's just a pretty good card in Paladin. Silas is like a 7-mana mind control with the Paladin hero power a lot of the time. And that's very useful in matchups like Warrior in the Mirror, or just against like Evolve Shaman stealing one of their big guys. So I think that Silas might look like a tech inclusion, but it's mostly just a good card in the deck. All in all, I like Jarla's lineup a lot. I think he has several things going for him that gives him a huge edge against the field in this tournament. And I also think he's like one of the best, if not the best player in the field. So Jarla is no pressure, but my heavy favorite to win. What did we say the next matches were? Bloodyface versus Shout. You see Bloodyface just bringing Evolve Shaman, Soul Demon Hunter, Highlander Hunter, and Libran Paladin. She's the only player in the entire field, excluding Warrior. Probably, I mean, now I haven't been part of her testing, but probably something along the lines that I didn't feel confident with the deck or felt it could be targeted. There's a lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, I think that War was a good choice, but I think that the 4 decks she has instead are very good still. With the one deck I'm not too sure about is the Highlander Hunter. We see the Evolve Shaman list being, I think, card for card what Jambra has been playing to rank 1 legend, if I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. And this has just been posting solid results across ladder with a little bit of a poor matchups against Aggro Demon Hunter, but that's also like, if I were to speculate a little bit, that would be the deck you'd ban. That shouldn't hurt too much. Then we have Jambra's 2 times Giant. Alright, very similar. And no face corruption Jambra assist. Okay, my bad. A very similar list to what Jambra has been piloting to rank 1 legend. I'm also pretty sure that she credited Jambra in her like, oh, thanks for helping me with prep. But I like the list. I think it's solid, and I think Evolve Shaman is like not one of the absolute top decks, but I definitely think it's one deck that you want to have in your lineup. Then we have Soul Demon Hunter. Very standard. I think card for card what Syndicate has been suggesting, and what most people are running. I have been trying a lot of things that aren't this list, and I've always just come back to I want to play these 30. This looks solid to me. Then she has the Highlander Hunter, which is the one choice that I'm like not that big of a fan of. We see some new technology in the Trampling Rhino as an additional beast. We see Secret Keeper as an additional 1-drop in this, like, if you guys played old Highlander Hunter with in the last meta, you'd see that this is way more like a face hunter with a Highlander card. Basically just because the card quality is so strong that you get to run Polkilt into Dino Tamer Brand in Face Hunter, and it's pretty insane. Some of the exclusions are probably based on ban strategy, and I like it just putting in more on the curve minions, because at the end of the day, all you want to do is to just drop minions on curve every single turn with this deck until you finish them off with Bran. So even though I don't like the deck choice too much, I think she made quite a few improvements to the deck, and I'm excited to see it play out. As for the Paladin, we see the Red Scale Dragon Tamer being adopted again, just like Lori. Double Hammer of the Naru. I've been saying a lot of good things about Hammer. I'm a little bit upset that Charla ended up submitting 0. But I like that she has decided to go for 2 of them. We see Novice Ninja over Loot Hoarder, which I can't really talk too much about since I'm a Braggart gamer myself. And we see the Red Scale Dragon Tamer and Amber Watcher. But I see the inclusion of Allura, which might seem like a weird one to say as an inclusion, because to most people it's core. But I had a lot of people weigh in on Paladin to me, and most seem to think that Allura is quite overrated and shouldn't be in the deck. But sometimes you're a high roll Libram of Hope and you're a very happy person. So, but overall, Bloodyface is doing what she does best, bringing nothing fancy to the table and playing the good decks better than most people. So I like Bloodyface's decks too. I think she has a good shot. Anyway, on to Shao Ti, one of the 2 Chinese representatives. Here's the first out of 3 aggro Demon Hunters. I think it's card by card aggro Demon Hunter that's been advocated by both HS Replay and Vicious Syndicate, with the one change being running Cult Neophytes over Umber Wings. It's the Vicious Syndicate report seems to suggest that you want to run Umber Wings over Neophytes currently, but I was mulling over that myself, and I honestly think that I'd prefer like what I think the World's Feel is gonna be. That I think that Neophyte seems like the better card. So I'm a big fan of choosing to go with those. Other than that, it's just this like really aggressive but also really resilient, because the Polkit Skull combo aggro Demon Hunter that's been posting insane win rates across like pretty much all ranks for quite a while now. Some people have pretty strong opinions that this deck isn't good, which I'm not entirely sure what it's based on. I think this deck has some awkward draws every now and then, but I think it's a very powerful deck, and it like crushes decks like Paladin and Shaman. So can't go too wrong with it. You also get to ban like your worst matchup with it. So I think I would I bring out KDH, but I think I prefer aggro DH over Soul DH for the meta, for the expected meta. Then we see another Evolved Shaman. This time the one with spells. We see different from Bloodyface's list. Shao Ti is going with the Storm Strikes and the Serpent Shrine portals, and doesn't have the Derail coaster. I haven't played enough Evolved Shaman, so I can really say which one is better or worse, but I'm honestly a fan of the other one a bit more. But I haven't put in as much practice on this deck, so Shao Ti usually knows his decks. Then we see Bomb Warrior as the third deck. The most broad warrior out of all of them. Not really anything fancy here. You see the Owl tech to be able to deal with other Rattlegores. I guess the exclusion of Risk Scripture Armorsmith is like the most important from the Bomb Warrior list. You make up for that with having Minefield, which is, I think, the single best warrior card against Demon Hunter, aggro Demon Hunter. So, and you have a little bit less life gain compared to EDC Warrior in matchups like Soul DH, but you also have more bracing potential. So there's ups and downsides to each. But yeah, let's not talk too much about that, because then it gets exciting. Highlander Galakrond Rogue. I have seen Shao Ti play this on ladder, but I did not think he would have, I guess, the balls to bring this to the World Championship. Highlander Rogue is basically a deck we haven't seen at all in this meta. And I mean, in my opinion, I haven't played it though. I think it's for a good reason. But Shouty, like, this probably has to do with like how you ban and like something he figured out. But might also just be like one of his like a deck he just really likes and wants to put his faith in. It's, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have too much experience. I don't think it looks like it would stack up too well against expected field. But I might be just underrating this deck a lot. At the end of the day, it's a Highlander deck, and Highlander decks can do some pretty unfair things. But one of the aspects of this deck is pretty cute, is you can do some pretty insane stuff with Polkelt and your cards that Galakron or High Spear and Togwaggle to draw cheap cards. But in how many matchups that's relevant in, I don't really know. That being said though, you have really solid early game. Like you have the Underbelly Fences and you have the Foxy Frauds. Like the deck used to stumble a bit in the early game. We used to run Hot Air Balloon in Highlander Rogue, but the card quality has improved quite a lot since. So like if you speak on like just raw terms of like power level of these cards, I don't think there's a single bad card except Sticky Finger in the deck. So don't diss the balloon. I'm sorry. Sif also, I'm not sure if Shouty and Sif practiced with each other. Looking at the deck lists. Okay, yeah, they practice with each other. Cool. glad we got that sorted. I just had a quick glance at the deck list, and we can see that there are a lot of similarities here, if not just like the only difference here being the Highlander Hunter instead of the Highlander Rogue, which further cements the Shouty brought it as a comfort choice. We see some lists we have to compare to are is Bloody Faces lists, and we see Sif going with some different card choices. We see Acidic Swamp Ooze being included and the Trampling Rhino being excluded. Other than that, they look pretty similar, their lists. Honestly, I've never been too much of a fan in Ooze in Highlander Hunter. The thing with the deck is that you're very desperate of curving out, and Ooze is like kind of this card you want to keep as a reactive tool. And I mean, it has the upside that you can drop it on curve, but then you're playing a Bloodfin Raptor, which honestly isn't too bad for Highlander Hunter standards. But generally, this card that you want to keep for like the right moment, and like a lot of the time it can get pretty awkward. Like a spot that comes up is that like they equip a weapon into your turn 7 where you just want to slam Bran on them, and then, well, you play your Bran, but then you use your weapon, and then you sit with your Ooze in your hand, and kind of just regret the card choice. And honestly, not a fan. When it works, it's very good, but I feel like it's not like just on a fundamental level a type of card I would want on my Highlander Hunter list. I like Bloody Faces list. I think Luna's lists are a lot. It like looks a lot better with just like more threats that you can curve out with that you feel good about playing on curve. The other 3 decks are pretty much like exactly what I said about Shouties, because I think they're the same. I think these are the same 90, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I mean, everything I said about Shouties list applies. I think I prefer the minion heavy shaman. Bomb warrior, I probably a good choice, but I prefer Sea Warrior myself. And Dagger Demon Hunter I think is good. Really not too much to say that I didn't cover when talking about the Shouties list. I think, honestly, sometimes when I watch like Grandmaster deck lists or other deck lists, I usually... Now I sound very positive towards these lists, which is because I am. It looks like all of these players so far has put the time in to really practice and come up with good solid lists. And not too many things that I'm too upset at seeing. people play. Now I expect things to get a bit spicy though. Oh my god, this is my nightmare. Tank Yugi has a pretty good history of spicing things up a little bit. And is he doing it at the World Championship stage? Maybe not as much as you expect, with Highlander Priest being the only one bringing Highlander Priest to the table. Another Highlander Hunter, quite similar to the one we see Bloody Face bring. We see the Ooze again. And we already covered in Sif's deck list. And inclusion of Trampling Rhino, big fan. But yeah, pretty much same as the other Highlander Hunters. I don't like the deck choice too much, but it's but it's a pretty much like you're at the mercy when you're playing. If you're not playing a lot of games, Highlander Hunter is definitely the deck that's like at the mercy of their draws. Like if you have the nuts with Highlander Hunters like 6 games in a row, or I don't know, like I just took a number out of my ass. Like you could very well be the world champion, but if you like low roll a few, like if you have a few awkward starting hands like Leash, Bow, Rifle, like then well that could be the end of your run right there, and you didn't have too much impact on it. I usually say that there's a lot of play to pretty much every deck, and I think that you're rarely gonna see like a game not being decided by decisions, but Highland Hunter has always been this deck where I feel like I'm in the least control of the outcome of my games. That being said, they are in control of bringing the deck. So like, even if they low rolled the draws, it was their decision to bring Highlander Hunter to the table. I just put that out there. Oh yeah, drawing some secrets. Highlander Priest. I haven't played this deck much, but it's for good reason, because I tried it and I played a few games and I felt miserable every single second. It's a Highlander deck, but honestly, like it's just a okay, I'm gonna be negative here. I am just my opinion, but Highlander Priest is just a pile of cards, and the other Highlander decks are at least piles of cards with a game plan. Highlander Priest is just a pile, and you hope that somehow these cards come together in some way that ends up with you winning the game somehow. This might to some people sound like every Priest game ever, but it's like especially Highlander Priest. I can't with this deck. I think it's you aren't really using your first of all, like you're only really playing the deck because of Sephiroth. Like DQA isn't a very good Highlander card at the end of the day, and you don't really have any specific game plan with Seth. Like in Highlander Mage, it's great for ramping. It's in Highlander Hunter, it's super good for finishing damage, but in Priest, it's just another card. Yeah, sure, you can raise that. It's super cute, very nice, but oh man, do I dislike this deck. I think the one upside that I don't even really think is a valid argument for that matter, I'm just being devil's advocate, is that you can justifiably run these shitty tech cards like Cobble Sticky Finger and Ooze and like kind of feel like it's justified. But so like probably have a better matchup against say Bomb Warrior than the Orbital Priestess is. Maybe I'm just not checking, like maybe I'm just not looking enough at the upsides here because I have strong feelings towards strong bad feelings towards this deck. But sorry, but it like just my opinion, but this is my least favorite deck of the tournament. I I think that the 2 of Priest, I think that it was hard to find a list that you could be comfortable bringing because there were so many lists out there. But I would much rather take my gamble on a 2 of Priest list because I think the upside there is huge than to bring Highlander Priest because I think it's just going to be aggressively mediocre. I could be wrong. Dude, I don't like Yugi's lineup, and he's massively outclassed in terms of pedigree, but if you think he's not going to win, you're a moron. Dude, I have nothing against Yugi, but I just don't like his lineup. Okay, sorry. I don't like this. Well, I don't like Highlander Hunter either. We already went over that. But the thing is, like, you might look at it and be like, oh, it's only one deck. How bad can it be? That's huge. Like, if a deck turns out to be bad in your lineup, that costs you the entire tournament. You could have the free... this is the frustrating part about being a Hearthstone player. If you bring 4 classes to a tournament, you can have fucking nailed it. And this has happened to me so many times. And I think any competitive Hearthstone player can say the same. You can have nailed the 3 best 30 card lists in the entire world. These 3 first lists you have, they outclass everyone in the room. Holy shit, you can't lose game with it. And then you're like, fuck yes, I got these 3. Now it's just for the 4th deck. And you kind of panic, or sometimes you think you nailed the 4th deck too. Like you think you got it right, but then it turns out that you were incorrect about something, that you missed something, that you had a wrong read on the meta. And it doesn't fucking matter that you have a 100% win rate with your other 3 decks, because this 4th deck is just gonna tank and tank and tank and tank games until you're out of the tournament. And I can tell you that everyone that's played a fair amount of Hearthstone tournaments will be able to tell you a time where this has happened to them as well. That's what. So, yeah. You're only as good as your worst deck. Absolutely. Oh, yes, Revolve in Shaman. Yeah, I don't like that. Oh, yes, a Harrison in Shaman. Oh, I don't like that. Oh. Alright, back to Yugi's list. He has some sort of Yambre Shaman, but we're playing Revolve that were very universally considered to be pretty bad and to be cut, I think, if you look at stats. Harrison is pretty cute. You can... if you get Harrison on the Libram of Justice weapon, I think the game ends most of the time. Then again, it's when this card is not good. It's really not good. Like, I honestly, like, comparing like how much I mind Harrison compared to how much I care about running Revolve. Damn, I'm really not a fan. I think the Shaman list is... There's nothing against Bank Yugi. Like, I just don't like where he's at this tournament. And I mean, that's my opinion. His warrior list very similar to his Sif and Shao Tibring. The one tech in Ooze. I mean, that seems to be like a pretty consistent theme that he wants to be good against the weapon decks. Probably trying to have a good bomb warrior matchup, as far as my understanding, with the entire lineup. That's like the plan of it. Which, yeah, honestly, like, he pretty much hit the... I did not expect 4 out of 8 people to have bomb warrior, but here we are. Or I guess 3 other people, because he's one of them. So if his lineup does well against bomb warrior, which I can see it doing, like, that gives him a bit of an edge. But like, this is just me trying to nitpick the good things I like about the lineup. Yes, this is my least favorite lineup so far. Her name is probably the... how do we phrase it? It's no secret that Silvername does not play a lot of Constructed. That being said, I don't know if he played Constructed going into Worlds. Like, you would think that Worlds give you a pretty good, proper reason to play Constructed, but honestly, I don't know. And I don't have any guess either. But even though, like, he didn't do that when he qualified for Worlds, I've said it earlier, Silvername has insanely good intuition. And just, like, playing games on... He just, like, plays games better than, like, probably anyone I know. Like, on just pure intuition, not knowing the matchups, like, very in-depth from playing them a lot. That being said, that is some flattery, but I really do think, personal view, that, you'd rather want, like, it's better if you actually practice. But that being said, like, he's one of few that could do it the way he has made his way to Worlds. As for his deck list, though, there is some spice here. No Highlander Mage, which I think a lot of people are disappointed in, because that was his signature deck qualifying to Worlds. Instead, we see Shaman. Pretty similar list to Yugi. But we see the Revolves again, and honestly, just seeing the Revolves makes the deck look so much worse to me, since the card is dead so much of the time and, like, doesn't, like, really impact enough. I really think that's a huge hit. I like the archetype quite a bit as a whole, but I don't like these lists. We see him with the Hearthstone technology, honestly, I don't mind too much. No Faceless Corruptors, instead of having Revolves instead. He has the Broomsticks that I don't remember how many lists we've seen that in. But I like that, but I don't think I like them paired with Revolve. All in all, not a huge fan of the Shaman list. It looks like it's mostly good cards, but they don't... I just feel like it's a bit off. And then we have the Bomb Warrior, which is also something. You see, pretty similar to the other list, we see the Tectin Ooze again. And I can't really think, but, like, in Warrior, why is Ooze really the better card compared to Sticky Finger? Or I guess in this Sticky Finger would be a pirate that you drew from Vately, and instead of Horde Pillager. Like, you could run Harrison instead, but I guess Ooze makes sense if you're gonna run Vately. Vately is the one interesting inclusion, together with Ironbeak Owl as the Beast, Clockwork Goblin as the mech, and Horde Pillar as the pirate. If you say that I'm drawing these 3 cards from a card, I'm not even sure how excited I am. Especially not considering, like, I get that we already want to play Owl for Ralgor, and we already have 2 Horde Pillagers. I'm just not sure if, like, Clockwork Goblin and Vately is, like, something I feel is very necessary. But I haven't tested it, so maybe it's good, but I'm a little bit skeptical. Then we have Standard Aggro Demon Hunter, same 30 as Sif and Shouty. I like it. It's a good 30. Then we have a Highlander Hunter, very similar to the other ones we've seen, with the Ooze being there again. The only player running Open the Cages, which I think is not a great secret, but maybe it fits the decks that Silvername is trying to target. No Jogsaron, no Puzzle Bot from Silvername. But not a huge fan of his deck list either. I think they're okay, but I disagree with quite a bit of stuff. Monsanto said he's practiced a lot, and honestly, like, he's one of the players that I think is, like, really on point currently. I think, like, throughout this year, everything I've seen from Monsanto has been like, damn, I've been impressed. I think Monsanto, it's been the year of Monsanto, if you will, in terms of, like, well, we see, like, I would say, like, Jarla, but how do I say this without sounding like I think that Monsanto was bad before? I always think Monsanto has been very, very good. But still, this year, there's just this, like, little extra that I can't really put my finger on exactly what it is, that I feel like we've been getting from him. And I feel like in terms of like personal, like Monsanto is like at his what I think is like the best he's been currently, and he seems confident going in, and they said he spent a lot of time on preparing this deck list. When he remembers sign up for tournaments, he's unstoppable. True. We see him with as the only one bringing the Enraged Warrior, and it's the standard Enraged Warrior too. Some people have been testing the Enraged Warrior with the with ETC combo, but I know this has been a pet deck for Monsanto for quite a while. He's been taking this deck to the next level multiple times in the past already, and this seems to be his newest creation. It's plays some of the defensive tools in Evil Quartermaster, and even adds in a Tectin Ooze, which I'm interested about. But the thing about this deck is that it cycles so much between the cutting classes and the battle rages that like these tech choices actually, I wouldn't put a Ooze in this deck personally myself, but it's like I think it fits better than say in like Highlander Hunter, and it also seems to be like a theme among his lineup that this is like we're trying to Ooze people. Other than that, I can't really speak too much about Enraged Warrior. I haven't played it much. I'm surprised to see it, but I can see it actually stack up quite well against the field. It's at the end of the day, it's a skipper Armorsmith deck that draws a lot of cards. You have a stronger mid-range game plan, but like not as strong of a finisher as CTC Warrior. Although you still have a strong finisher, you have the Grom and you have the Korkron Bloodsworn combo. So you can. I don't think it's like that much different from ETC Warrior. It definitely has its ups and downsides. I think this is better against Aggro Demon Hunter. You can actually contest boards with like Warmel Challenger, etc. Then you have Soul the Age. We see going a little bit away from the standard list by cutting Sociologist Militia. That's mostly at its best against in matchups like Hunter and other board-centric matchups. And cutting a Soul Share. Making room for Ooze. This seems to be a theme in his lineup. He wants to have that weapon removal. And a Sneaky Delinquent. Which is, honestly, when I've been playing this deck, I've been thinking to myself, like, that's why I was trying Wandmaker for a bit, although then realizing that I didn't like Wandmaker. It's because, like, I just felt that my turn 2 would be dead a lot of the time, and how I, a lot of the time, would, wait 1 second. Wait, what am I got idea here? So, back to the deck list. I a lot of time felt like, oh, I really wish I just had something to spend 2 mana on in the early game. And I was trying Wandmaker, but like it didn't really feel that good. Dude, Sneaky Delinquent does tick a lot of the boxes I want from my card. It can even go face. Like, this card sticks. It goes face. You play it on 2. It makes it so you can fill in your mana even better on turns. You get a ghost back. Honestly, out of this would normally be like the type of thing that I dislike, but I actually think the Sneaky Delinquent might be pretty genius. I don't know. Not genius, but I think it's sweet. I like it. I hadn't thought of it myself, but hey, dude, that's pretty. I wonder if 1 is the sweet spot. Probably is. I don't think I would have to draw multiples of this. It's also just good against like the aggro decks, just like having a trade body. Then we have Rogue. Very, very standard Mac Banter face list with the 1 card difference, which is -1 Ambush, +1 Pharaoh Cat. Okay. It's my first time seeing this. I like the 2 cats. I think it was illegal to run 1. But weren't 4 secrets like kinda in the low end already? When I played the deck, I mean, I wasn't gonna add the 5th secret, but I also was like, damn, 4 secrets is cutting it close. But we're down to 3. Like, it's free secrets. I mean, I know you have spell lackeys, you have swindle, you have what, yada yada yada. You have things that can give you more secrets, but still, like, between 2 stunners and Hanar being like so essential to your game plan, this seems risky. Like, now I'm very much against the school of questing adventure. Like, I would love to see one or both go right away if I were to choose. But yeah, like, ambush is not the card I'd cut. So we'll see. If Monsanto now I'm not gonna root for Monsanto to lose, but if Monsanto sits there with no secrets, I'm gonna feel a little bit smug. But I'm cheering for Monsanto too. That probably sounded meaner than I meant it. And then we have Highlander Hunter. We see the exclusion of Trampling Rhino. That Monsanto tested and just didn't like it then. And other than that, a pretty standard list. We see the Ooze again. I mean, I think this is the same 30 as a lot of people have. But Ace Time, I don't like the deck. I think if like, my prediction for the deck that's gonna tank the most from people is Highlander Hunter. I mean, I think that, like, Highlander Priest is a worse choice, but we're seeing 5 Highlander Hunters. I don't think the deck is good. So if I have to point at, like, a weak, I think Rogue is stronger. I think Paladin is stronger. If I have to pick, like, one deck that I think is gonna flop, it would be Highlander Hunter. But overall, I think Monsanto's lineup is solid. I am excited about the Enrage Warrior. I want to see how it performs. I think it performs well. I like the card choices in Demon Hunter. I have feelings about playing free secrets, but overall the list looks fine. Like, they look thought out. They look like it put its time in. I like it. All right, that's it. I think that a lot of these people are worthy of being called the next Hearthstone World Championship, but for myself, I am rooting for Jarla, who I think is also a favorite in terms of deck list. Take it home. Either way, let me know who you guys are cheering for, and let me know what you think about the tournament overall. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. See ya.